Grow 'em Big with Steve Bartilla. Brought to you by Huntworth and these other fine sponsors.
Hey guys, Ian here with Chestnut Hill Outdoors, and today I'm out here at the edge of the nursery where we're planting some new persimmon along our tree line. So I wanted to walk you through what a typical planting looks like. We plant when the tree is dormant, and that means that there's not a lot of water requirement throughout the winter time. It doesn't have to be watered as frequently, but the roots will continue to grow even though the tree's dormant. And it will be established by the time the growing season comes in spring, and we'll have a head start, and it should grow real healthy and strong through the next year. So let's walk through the steps for a typical tree planting. First, you want to gather the equipment. You're going to need a shovel, a hoe to clear around where your planting site is. You're going to need a weed mat, which we highly suggest to protect from weed competition. We also highly recommend tree protection. I have some fence posts, I have a fence post driver, and I have some metal fencing, which will act as a real strong barrier from wildlife like deer and bear. I also have a lot of water. The water is a crucial part of planting. When you plant and put that tree in the soil and you fill back in the local soil, it can create pockets of air all around the root system that effectively root prunes those roots. The roots don't like to grow, it thinks like it's grown into the air. So we want to pack it in as best we can with a ton of water and over water, and make sure that all of the air has been seeped out and filled back in with soil. So water is a crucial part of planting. Have a ton of water ready to go at your planting site. So first, we're going to dig a hole about 2 times as wide as the container it comes in. This leaves room for the roots to be able to grow outward, and about as deep as the root ball, about as deep as the container that it comes in. We're gonna make sure to kick the pot that the tree comes in to make sure the roots come out. If there's any root tendrils that grew outside of the pot, we don't want to yank the roots and break them. So we're gonna tap the pot lightly to get the root ball to come out cleanly. Next, we're going to just massage the root system a bit, loosen up any tightly wound roots, make sure that everything is loosened up and ready to go. And then when we put it into the ground, we're gonna fill back in the local soil. We don't recommend any soil amendments at this point, just the soil that the tree comes in, and then add back in the local soil. And from there comes the most important, the most crucial part of planting a tree, which is watering that soil around the edges. I'm gonna take a shovel and I'm gonna push down around the outside of the tree to make sure there's no air pockets around the edge of the newly planted tree. Those air pockets will root prune. The roots won't grow through the air pockets. So I need to make sure that all of that soil is packed in nicely until I'm confident that there's no air pockets around the newly planted tree. Once I've planted the tree in the ground, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the tree protection, get that fencing around, drive the poles, and zip tie it up. From there, it's pretty much done. After this point, I need to make sure to keep that tree watered for the first couple years. The most important part of planting a tree is to have a plan for how you're gonna get water to your tree. If you're close by to your house, you can lug water down, but if you're at a remote planting site, you need to think about how you're gonna get water consistently to the tree. We can't rely on Mother Nature to provide rain enough. If you don't have a plan, it significantly reduces your chances of success. So we really recommend keeping water on the tree for at least the first few years after planting. If you're planting in the fall like I am, you don't want to fertilize until the next growing season. If you fertilize over winter time, you're going to encourage the tree to start growing. Here in the south, it might start growing even during the winter, and up north, it might start growing a little bit too early when temperatures warm up. So a really cold snap could kill a new tree that's running sap through those tender new limbs. We would recommend that you wait at least a couple months after planting to fertilize, and also in the winter, don't fertilize at all until the growing season starts in spring. Planting a tree is a pretty simple process. We select our site, we select the trees, we dig our hole, we get our tree protection around it, and as long as we have a watering plan and some fertilizer for the future, we're pretty guaranteed to have a successful and healthy tree that's going to produce fruit and nut for years and years to come. Now is a good time to go out and do some maintenance and some pruning and clean up any planting site from the last couple years. So here's one of our chestnuts that we planted about 2 years ago now, and you can see how well the weed mat has done after I've pulled back some of the competition down here. So I'll go ahead and remove our tree cage, and we'll clean up inside all around the base of the tree. And once we've done that, this tree doesn't need any pruning, and I'll put the cage back on afterwards, and this tree will be good for the next while until the next growing season. You know, and I like to keep an eye out on the weeds throughout the year. You know, if this tree, probably after a couple months in the summer, will have some serious weeds come up. So I keep an eye out over the growing season to make sure that there isn't too much competition happening. So if we didn't have this weed mat, the grass and every other weed in the area would be growing around the base of the tree, taking nutrients from the tree and possibly, in the high summer months, even suffocating this tree. I mean, grass could easily grow 3 or 4 feet around the base of this tree if it's not being watched. So I'm gonna show you how easy it is to clear out when you're using a weed mat. A project that could take me 5 or 10 minutes instead takes me about 15 seconds, and I've already cleared out the base of my tree. So a weed mat is valuable and can save you a ton of time down the road if you put a weed mat at your planting.
Final thoughts brought to you by Huntworth.
So once we've done all of our maintenance, I'm gonna put everything back together, and this tree should be sufficient to grow throughout this next growing season. Just to keep, what's most important for the first few years after planting is to have a consistent watering schedule for your tree. You just can't rely on natural rain to supplement your water. You need to have a schedule, and you need to get to your tree as much as possible. If you're at a remote planting site, come up with a plan, because that tree needs to have water at least a couple times a week to ensure that the tree will survive. So once you've tidied up, once you've gotten everything back together and ready to go, get your watering schedule ready, and you're gonna have a successful growth season in the next year.